summoned by bells. They came in big numbers. Some not seen in the House of Lords for a long time. Some regular attenders.
You think you'll see a lot of colleagues you haven't seen for years who've been hauled in?
I'm looking out. I've got my little card to tell me who everyone is, so I don't make a faux pas, but we're on a 3-line whip, so who knows who might appear. Santa.
At Dover, calm seas may have brought in the highest number of arrivals of the year so far, an estimated 400 plus. The actual figure will be confirmed tomorrow, brought in off small boats. Images like these made Boris Johnson first reach for the Rwanda deportations policy 2 years ago. At question time, Keir Starmer said it was a policy that Rishi Sunak, as Chancellor, opposed.
The tragedy is we know the Prime Minister doesn't even believe in the Rwanda gimmick. He tried to stop funding it, but he's now so diminished that his entire focus is stopping his MPs holding the sword of Damocles above his head, perhaps even literally in the case of the Leader of the House.
The Chief Whip laughed and nudged Penny Mordaunt, who didn't. Newspapers have named her as prime candidate to replace Rishi Sunak.
It's crystal clear, not only does the Labour Party not have a plan to fix this issue, but the truth is they don't actually care about fixing this issue.
Rishi Sunak said his people smuggling law changes meant criminals organising crossings had gone to jail.
If it was up to him, those criminals would still be out on our streets, Mr. Speaker. And the truth is, if he wasn't the Labour leader, he'd still want to be their lawyer.
Speaker, I've prosecuted more people smugglers than he's had helicopter rides, and that's a lot.
Hello, so are you here for the Rwanda debate today?
As they argued, peers were still gathering to debate whether to amend again the Rwanda bill, which the government wants to be completely unamended.
I'm an aged member of the Liberal Democrats here, so I come every other week, and I'm insistent on trying to be here today.
Contents will go to the right by the throne, the not contents to the left by the bar.
The Lords defied the Commons, again inserting their amendments. Labour has insisted it won't block the bill, but isn't yet ready to end its opposition.
Contents 276, not contents 226. So the contents have it.
And today the National Audit Office criticised Rishi Sunak's attempts to move asylum seekers out of hotel accommodation and into specially designated sites. The National Audit Office has priced the government's new plan to keep asylum seekers in barges, former RAF bases and former student accommodation at £1.2 billion. The report said keeping them in hotels would be £46 million cheaper. The Home Office challenged those costings for the new accommodation, but the NAO said the government had simply taken out lots of relevant costs from its calculations.
Country not content.
Not content! Tonight, the voting is continuing in the Lords, but the government's not going to give the Commons time to reverse their amendments until after the Easter recess in mid-April.
Well, earlier I spoke to the Conservative Deputy Chairman, Rachel Maclean, and I started by asking her whether, following the 1922 committee meeting, Conservative MPs may have given the Prime Minister only a temporary reprieve until after the upcoming local elections.
Everybody is behind the Prime Minister. We are focused on the people's priorities out and around the country. When I go out talking to people in Redditch, they're not interested in all this Westminster gossip. What they're interested in is lower council taxes, better results on crime, more police on the streets, action on the priorities that they care about.
Has Penny Mordaunt got the memo? Was she at the meeting?
I couldn't see who was at the meeting because it was incredibly crowded, but of course the Leader of the House of Commons has a really important role rallying everybody every single Thursday, and she does that extremely well.
Why hasn't she ruled out her interest in a renewed leadership campaign then?
Well, you'd have to ask her that. But I think I think this talk about leadership, honestly, I understand why the media wants to focus on it. But Penny and everybody else here is 100% focused on delivering for our constituents out in the country. And what we've seen from Labour time and time again is when they are in government, they destroy local services, they do a terrible job, and they can't say what they would do nationally because they haven't got a plan.
Okay.
of how to tackle any of the serious issues that the country faces.
Well, you've clearly got all your election messages prepped, so I'm just wondering why you don't go ahead and call a general election straight away. It seems that you're ready with all the slogans.
Well, of course, we have a very strong message. And I think that's what people want to hear from the Conservatives, that we do have a plan. But look, we've got a set of local...
Yeah, but they're now going to have to hear that plan for another 6 months at least. Why not go to the country now?
Well, we are going to the country. We're going for local elections. Obviously, we will have mayoral elections. And, you know, there is a timetable set out for a general election.
You haven't mentioned your Rwanda bill. It's currently mired in the Lords. When are you actually going to get those planes off the ground?
Well, the only thing stopping us getting those planes off the ground, Cathy, is the Labour Party, both here in the House of Commons and also in the other place in the House of Lords. Unelected Labour peers are blocking our plans. I mean, we know that overwhelmingly the British people want us to deal with this serious issue.
The fact is, you talk about delivery, and the Prime Minister was trying to say that small boats crossings had come down since his premiership. But the fact is, this year they're up, aren't they? And today could well be another record in terms of the number per single day of migrants crossing. You're failing to deliver on this central plank of your policy, aren't you?
No, Cathy, that's not quite accurate. We have got small boat crossings down. That's because we've put more money into fighting crime upstream, dealing with those international partners. We've put more money into the crime agencies. We've operationalised a partnership with Albania and some of these other places where we know these arrivals are coming from.
But so far, what you said about getting small boat crossings down just isn't true, because so far this year the number of people crossing is up 9% compared with the same period last year. You're fiddling the figures to say otherwise.
Well, forgive me, I certainly am not fiddling any figures. I'm talking about the overall trend in numbers, which is down since the Prime Minister took office.
Just finally, you've said that you want to keep a multi-million-pound donation from Frank Hester, despite alleged racist and misogynist comments. You're in charge of campaigning. I just wondered if you could tell me how much of the up to £15 million he's given you that you've actually already spent.
So I honestly don't know, because I don't have close involvement with the actual accounts of the party.
Have you asked how much of the 15 million has been spent?
Frankly, it's not my job to look at the accounts. There's plenty of other people who are doing that. Of course, every party needs to have cash. Otherwise, we have to ask the taxpayer to pay for political parties. No. You're putting words into my mouth there. We are in an election period. Every party is spending money. It costs money to run elections. The alternative from having private individuals who support our values and our philosophy.
No matter how unsavoury their views.
No, of course not. Of course, there are. We have already said that his comments were racist. He's apologised for that.
Rachel Maclean, thanks very much.
Thank you.